Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
And I'm Buzz, and in this episode we're asking the question, what is a prepper? And can you prep on a budget?
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more.
So in order to help us find, hopefully, an answer to this question of what is a prepper, we've got a real special guest in the studio with us tonight, a prepper himself. Please welcome Jakk Harris to the studio. Welcome, Jakk.
Hello.
And this is your first time in the Zak Wylde Productions dungeon studio.
yeah, it's cosy.
And as I say, this episode is all about prepping.
Yeah, I'm really interested to find out what it actually means to be a prepper.
Right, so that's where I thought we'd start this series off, because we're looking to do a series of podcasts because the subject of prepping is...
It's quite broad.
Yeah, it's very broad and it's got lots of layers to it. One of the things that kind of bugs me about when you say I'm a prepper, people immediately think of doomsday preppers.
Yeah, the extreme zombies.
Yeah,
yeah, he's wearing a zombie t-shirt.
He's got his zombie killing t-shirt on in the corner here. And and people just jump, boom. Now, I suppose that's the thing. You can be into so many different things these days and people will automatically sort of have a stereotypical
there's
view
a stereotype for everything, isn't there?
Yeah. So, we kind of, for me, I need to answer this question because, you think about it and say, well, what exactly is a prepper? Because in recent years, it's sort of thrown itself into the spotlight of what's going on, especially when we suddenly hit COVID and people were going mad buying up all the toilet rolls and the pasta and everything else. That led to people saying, people are hoarding stuff and things like that. And again, you say, I'm a prepper, and some people say, you're one of those people that just hoards.
Yeah, and you immediately think they have a bunker somewhere.
Yeah, they've got a bunker. Well, interesting you say that because it was probably the beginning of the year, or I think it was the beginning of this year. Are you familiar with Ben Fogle?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does documentaries and things. I think he first, years ago, the first time I saw of Ben Fogle on TV was it was a survival programme based on, I think, an island in Scotland called Tarrant, where they got a group of everyday people with different skill sets, and they were hoping that they could survive by butchering their own food, growing their own food, fishing for their own food on the island Tarrant for a year. And if I recall, it all fell apart.
Oh dear.
So worth a watch then.
Yeah, it was probably part of your original kind of what do they call it these days? Reality TV that we have so much of these days, where Big Brother these days and things. So anyway, so that was all about survival. So that kind of plucked my interest because of all these people there. But unfortunately, it turned out to be more of a, as you just said, Jakk, a social experiment on people interacting.
Well,
together.
that reminds me of a Stone Age one. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, the Stone Age one again.
There's been a few of them.
They were meant to, and I was really looking forward to seeing how they did flint knapping, made
because they got experienced people in, didn't they?
Yeah, experienced people.
But again, it completely fell apart.
And it ended up being nothing about the actual skill sets of what they needed to survive. It's more like
the emotional journey.
The emotional journey, the conflict.
Nothing about the skills.
The mental impact of being stuck on an island.
Exactly. So anyway, Ben Fogle recently did a series which was about people living off grid. I was watching one of these, which were based on a family, I think, down in Devon, called the Masons, and they bought some land and they'd had problems with the local council because the local council said no, you can't live there permanently, and so they were desperately trying to get permission to. They'd put a temporary house there and they were being told they were going to have to take it down and all this stuff, but eventually they got permission. So running forward a little bit, they'd got this small holding, they got animals, vegetables.
Yeah, weren't they trying to be like completely
off-grid
and eco?
Yeah.
Eco-neutral.
They were, the husband and the wife were doing small jobs locally to bring in some money to help them put this lifestyle together. So Ben asked them the question that we are asking ourselves in the studio today, and that is, what is a prepper? He asked them, are you preppers? Now, I'd been watching that programme eagerly, watching them make chutneys, jams, canning their own food, chopping loads of firewood up for the winter, making sure all their produce would get them through,
building up their stores.
All their stores, yeah, exactly. All that kind of stuff, which is great. And so he asked them, are you preppers? And then immediately, no, we're not. We're not preppers. We don't have a
gun cabinet.
A gun cabinet, and we're not, waiting for the zombie apocalypse. And I sort of sat there thinking, well, hang on, guys.
This is a programme
What do you do
about
if
this.
not prepping?
You are preppers, but even as preppers, you are saying you're not preppers, because you've got the idea that a prepper is somebody that is kind of...
It's almost like a generalisation.
Yeah, generalisation. So, and that really prompted me to say, okay, what is a prepper? And so it took me back to my own family, my parents. I grew up, we were a very poor family, so we made as much as we could out of what we had. We grew everything in the garden, and did exactly what I just said the Masons were doing, making chutneys, making preserves. But then so did our grandparents. All of the people, the listeners listening today, I'm sure at some point, if they go back in their generations, everybody's grandparents, great-grandparents, prepped.
I guess they had to.
Yeah, because they
Didn't really have much of a choice, did you?
Yeah. But that's really where I see prepping. It's for me, it's being prepared. Obviously, the word prepping is being prepared. Whereas an awful lot of people in this day and age, they tend to live on this kind of literally 24-hour clock. They don't necessarily have to buy even a week's food. They might buy a couple of days' food.
I mean, if they live near a shop,
yeah,
then you could go there every day.
We do live near a shop, and we do frequent it most days, if not every day.
Well, there you go.
But we've decided in the last year that actually, you can't do that all the time.
No, because of
when COVID happened.
Yeah.
COVID was the restrictions, and of course financially, we're all being squeezed at the moment. The mortgages
Crazy
are going
times,
up.
very uncertain.
Everything, fuel prices, everything. So money is really tight, which really should prompt people to be kind of more, well, what can I do to help myself out in a situation like this? And so it kind of takes us away from that zombie killing, waiting for the nuclear holocaust type of image of a prepper.
That's like an extreme scenario.
Yeah. So anybody listen to this, I hope you're going to start to get an idea that being a prepper isn't about that at all.
The extremes.
About the
It could be
It's not a nutcase in a bunker
Yeah.
waiting for
financial difficulties.
Financial difficulties.
Maybe some like a drought or extreme weather or something.
Extreme weather, power outages, all those sorts of things are just
which I did prepare for.
which Jack did prepare for, and we're going to come to that. As we go through the podcasts. So, Jack, what's your? You've heard my approach to what a prepper is. Somebody who literally just prepares themselves to have some kind of backup in situations. Well, what's your idea of being a prepper?
That's exactly it. Really, is being prepared for literally anything, because you never know what's going to happen. Like, you go to bed, wake up the next day, and suddenly you're not allowed to go outside. Or, recently, my wife and I, we've had, like you say, with the money difficulties and everything, we got to the end of this month and been like, well, we actually can't afford to go and get food. We've got some in a box. Let's go and get that.
So yeah, and that comes back to this kind of impression where I've had the impression of some people that would be considered to be hoarding, and I don't agree with that, because the way I look at when you have a food store, backup supply of food, like our grandparents did in their larders, pantries, that's just something that you will eat into, and you will replace, but it means that there is this safety
kind of
net.
A safety net,
You've got a safety net there, rather than if you remove that safety net and you are literally just saying, we've run out of food, we need to phone up Tesco's or Ocado or any number of companies that bring food to your house, and they'll deliver some food to us, and we've got food again for another couple of days, or we'll just ring up, Uber Eats,
Just Eat.
Because a lot of people, I mean, honestly, I've found an awful lot of people don't even have that much food in the house. You know, they
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
living off this kind of.
Dependence,
I can get
isn't it?
food 24/7.
That's kind of how we live at the minute, because time is really quite precious
Well,
for
time,
us.
time
Very
is
much
And,
so.
and so going out and getting the shopping in, or taking the time to sit down and put an order in on the laptop or whatever, when you've got 4 kids, it's a bit difficult to find the time to do that. So we'll quite often be like, oh, well, what should we have for dinner? We'll just nip down the shop. And so we don't have a great amount of food in the house that we just use like people would, just in the cupboards or whatever. But we are storing food.
You have got that
for,
backup. safety
backup
net.
for when, times are hard and you can't go to the shop and get whatever you need. Or,
Which is the
so
essence
it's
of
like-
prepping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
and again, prepping for all sorts of different reasons, and so maybe we should kind of look at a few of those.
Well, that was the thing. Okay, so you bring up reasons for prepping and stuff. When we've obviously watched Doomsday Preppers and things,
Oh yes.
when they went to each and every single person in that, they would each come up with a very extreme, specific scenario.
Oh yeah, I am prepping for a super
But
volcano. Honestly,
a solar storm
a
or
solar
something.
storm. I'm prepping
But
for financial
I
worldwide
think-
financial collapse.
I think Jack said it before, but you can really you have to kind of prepare for any eventuality. You can't.
You can't prep for one specific thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes you a prepper. That makes you paranoid about one thing.
one thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you-
I would definitely agree with you there. So I mean, these are TV shows. Maybe that's part of the. I don't know whether it's part of the hype of the show, but also it kind of is a bit disturbing because if people watch it and take that on board and think that that's exactly
Well,
it's
they've got
almost
reality.
misinformation, isn't it?
Well, they've got loads of companies
Yeah.
over in America that build bunkers and things.
Bunkers,
for
yeah,
people.
you can actually-
There's entire stores I saw on one of the shows once that just sell stuff for prepping for a zombie apocalypse and stuff.
That's
So-
very specific.
Yeah, I think there's a guy isn't there who's purchased a whole missile silo, and he's turning into individual bunkers to sell off to people so they can
Yeah,
have
there's
this
some-
whole
there's-
community.
That's the thing. It's kind of thinking about weighing up the likelihood of certain events and stuff. Is it more likely that we'll have an event like COVID, or an infectious zombie apocalypse?
Yeah.
That's the things we have to consider.
Yeah, is it going to be a severe storm, or is Putin going to suddenly do a nuclear strike?
And where is that going to be?
Where's it
How
gonna
is that going to affect everywhere
everybody
else?
Yeah, I mean, even we shouldn't joke about it with the current climate as it is, but even if that power station in the Ukraine, which is the largest one in Europe, got damaged, not only would the local area for probably hundreds of kilometres be affected, but depending on which wind direction is going, that radiation would travel.
Yeah.
That
very much
fallout
so.
would travel and affect thousands upon thousands of people. So I suppose if you were living close by to those kind of high risk areas, you may have a mind to think about your preps in a more specific way. Would that be correct of me sort of saying?
Yeah,
If you literally live
lived
next
in a high
door to
risk area, you'd prep for the high risk that you live next to. Wouldn't you? If you lived next to a river, you'd probably prep for flooding. Or if you lived on top of a hill, you probably wouldn't. So
that would be lightning strikes. I don't know. But
Well, it could be. Could be.
Could be. Well, I mean, even now, you mentioned earlier, because obviously news today was the
Well, Hurricane Ian,
Yes.
isn't it?
in
in
Florida.
Florida, and I think there's 2 million people out without power at the
Yeah, it's
moment.
having disastrous effects over there.
So with that is a storm, and weather conditions are getting so more turbulent these days. We're noticing it in the UK. We've had only the hottest summer we've had in ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
On record.
Record-breaking, yep.
Until next year.
Until next year. But it could is just as much swing to have the worst winter. You know, I'm not saying, listeners, that I'm not I'm not dooming everything.
Maybe it'll just feel like it because you've been treated to such high temperatures. It feels
yeah.
cold already, but
That
it shouldn't
said,
feel cold yet.
we are all ginger in here, so we do like the cold.
we're more adapted to the cold because the day star burns.
Yeah, we
us.
just burn.
We just burn. We don't tan. We burn. We hide in the shadows. You know. So prepping and being a prepper is literally, I think, first and foremost, just being prepared to a certain level and not going extreme.
Yeah.
But even so, there can be a cost involved in that.
Yes.
And I saw a post not so long ago on social media, because I follow a few different prepping sites,
Pages and groups and
groups. Yeah. And one of them, a gentleman said that his local substation had been damaged and the power had gone out. As part of his prep, And I don't know the exact details, but he basically, part of his prep was he'd got a battery bank set up with solar panels, etc., etc. So when all the power went out, that happened in the evening, his house was the only house that had power still on. But he was running his fridge, freezers, blah, blah, blah. I said, and I think if I recall from the post, he said he probably had about 10 hours worth of reserve power.
Right.
It wasn't long until people were knocking on his door saying, "Oh, can you charge my phone up? Can you charge my laptop up? Can you do this? Can you do
That's
that?"
interesting. Were they like noticing the lights through his
They
windows or something?
noticed
Probably,
that he's the only house that's got light on.
Yeah.
So his neighbours are coming, "Oh, can you charge this up? Can you do that?" And he said, "Look, with all due respect, I've got limited power here that I have had the foresight to prep for."
You didn't.
You didn't.
Yeah.
And if I go around sharing all my power out with everybody,
Then what was the
and
point
I-
of me doing it?
And I don't know
Yeah,
how long
exactly.
this power outage is going to last. I need my power as long as I can keep it. It wasn't, okay, we respect that, fine. He got a lot of abuse. He said, they turned on him and were telling him he was basically hoarding and he was awful and he should,
That's when people
how can
suddenly
he
turn
live
into
with himself?
pack animals.
Yeah, and you kind of think, well, that's terrible. If you're suddenly faced with that, just because you've had a little mind to do some kind of prepping in order to,
Ironically, probably the one thing he wasn't prepared for.
what, suddenly inundated.
Being lynched by the locals.
I'm sure that at this point he's probably, next time I'm putting the blackout curtains turning the lights off.
Isn't that a statement towards how kind of fragile as a society we all are?
Well, that's it. I mean, what do they say? You're 72 hours away from civil unrest. If people don't eat for 72 hours, they don't have a square meal for 72 hours, that people then start losing it. You know?
Go crazy, become desperate.
So there's one person if I recall, I think it was a program called UK Preppers, might have been on one of the streaming services, Disney Plus or something like that. Strange. Well, no, because that has National Geographic on it, doesn't it? So it may well have been Disney Plus. Anyway, they were saying how that in that sort of situation, even the granny next door, who's usually
Really nice.
really nice, will take a carving knife and come after you for a loaf of bread.
Grab your torch and pitchfork.
So, but that's it. People do suddenly change. These are probably all subjects for discussions in further episodes. So, pulling it back for a moment to, what is a prepper and what should we be really looking at as far as prepping is concerned. It's probably those everyday, if you want to call them everyday, essentials that you might find that you suddenly need. So that's where I'm going to come on to you, Jack, because you produced something after there was a post on Facebook. I think you probably made it a while back before then, but there was a post that followed up what I just said about that gentleman. And when I mentioned it on my feed, I got a little, I wouldn't call it backlash, but I did have people coming back to me saying, we can't all afford power banks and solar panels and things like this. And then yesterday I noticed another gentleman who put a post up saying that he'd made a sort of like a backup prep if the power goes out. And he had it laid out on the table. It was a video. I had a look at the video, and he got solar charger, solar backup battery banks, all sorts of gizmos and things. And when you looked at that, hundreds of pounds worth of gear. But we said, how can we do it on a budget? And Jack, you came to the rescue, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw. I don't remember how I even came up with the idea or thought about it. So something triggered it, and I can't remember what it was. It must have been the post that you put up about the guy's power going out, and I thought I should probably do something for if the power does go out, actually. And I
Good idea.
Good idea.
And so yeah, I coined it the blackout box.
The blackout box. I
And,
like that term.
And yeah, it's just a £5 box from B&Q or wherever, filled with a few bits and bobs you might need in a power cut.
Right, so you went out and you basically, when you say a box, you got a toolbox, didn't you?
Yeah, it was the cheapest one in there, and it's bright orange.
Yeah, funny enough, I've got exactly the same. I've got. If you can duck down,
down there?
look into the gallery.
Oh,
yeah.
There's two of them in the gallery. I've got another one down the house. They're really handy boxes. But so your box was £5, but you don't even have to spend that because you can just use
you
a
could just
box,
use a cardboard box,
The one that you already have.
Yeah, you can
I
just.
just
use...
needed one that was a bit more childproof than a cardboard box.
So the overall cost that you said, did that?
At the time, it was about 15 to 20 quid, I think. And
And this was
that's
basically
including the box.
Yeah, this is including the box. So if you just use your shoebox that you already have,
Yeah,
then you've
exactly.
got an extra £5 to spend on
Yeah,
the
so-
contents. But this box was specifically designed that if we have a blackout, that you've got something to hand,
Yeah.
rather than being suddenly finding you're
Exactly,
without.
rather than rummaging through the drawers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
In the
again,
dark.
in the dark. So, but again, that's prepping. Okay, so even if you had put a blackout box together and you've put it in the bottom of your wardrobe, and then the power goes out and you've got no lights at all, you've suddenly got to find yourself up the stairs, if you're not in a bungalow, up the stairs into your bedroom, rummaging around trying to find what it is. So you've already got to say, well, that's probably not the best place to put it, or I need to have something else somewhere else as an initial light source. And all that train of thought is prepping, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're
pretty
thinking
much.
about things. Because of the fuel costs have gone up so much in UK and across Europe at the moment, probably worldwide, we in the UK have had rumblings that there's a possibility of having power outages over the winter, because suddenly we're going to have a huge demand on the grid, and resources, because of obviously current events, are becoming scarce. You know, we're limited, so we've got power outages. So it is a clever thing, or a forward-thinking thing to do exactly what you've done, Jack. So to do that and on a budget is fantastic. And I know we had a lot of interest about your blackout box. So what we want to know is, how did you put it together? What have you got in it that actually is effective, but at such a cost-effective price?
So, the first thing that I got was in Tesco's you can get cheap little LED torches, and I thought, gonna need a torch. Kids will probably want torches. They're like £2. So I bought 3 of them for the kids. Come with the batteries already in them. Take the batteries out, so they're not
They
being
don't drain
used,
here.
and put them in the box. And then I was like, well, need a few more things, and so had a rummage around the house, found a box of matches, found some candles, tea lights and stuff, packets of tea lights. People have probably got them laying around from Halloween's past. So a lot of it went in from stuff I already had, just laying around. Just being a bit more organised with the stuff I've already got, and adding to it. Yeah,
That's the thing. If you know that it's all in one place, you then don't have to find 5 different things that are spread out all across your house.
Exactly, yeah. So I stuck a little battery-powered radio that I've got. It's been laying around the house. I threw that in there. I think the most of the cost came from buying like spare batteries for the things that I had laying around the house.
You say you've got kids.
So-
Out of interest, do you have can you think as being father and all the toys you have to maintain for the kids?
Yes, loads of batteries in
You've got
there.
loads of batteries. Exactly. See, this is one of the things. Go back to the video I said earlier about the chap who'd made. It was a very decent blackout pack, if you want to call it that. It was all very expensive kit, and one of the essentials was a head torch. Now, I love a head torch because it gives you hands free. And again, a head torch in a blackout box doesn't have to cost you the earth. You can actually pick really cheap ones up just for a couple of quid.
Yeah.
Which will take either 2 AAA batteries or even 1 AA battery, which again you can scavenge. Push comes to shove, you can scavenge those.
And even if you don't have kids, you've got a TV remote somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. See, Jack's thinking. These are all brilliant tips. So you've got your TV remote. I have had a look around on things like Amazon and places. You can buy actually quite big packs, so they do their own basic range of batteries. So you
Good to know.
I invested in a pack of those just to see how good they
Go
are.
straight on the Amazon wish list.
And
I do have a prepping basket on Amazon now.
Oh, right. So I have a prepping basket. Prepping wish list. Do you have a prepping wish list? Oh, Zach, you're falling behind there. You're leaving it to Dad.
I'm having a look. I've got loads of wish lists on my
I
Amazon.
wonder, has anybody else who's listening to this got a prepping wish list on Amazon? I wonder if the Amazon, the people who do the analytics and everything, look at these people. They've all got what is
They'll
these?
start popping
What are
up.
these prepping wish lists? We're suddenly getting like adverts tailored
Yeah,
to us.
yeah. You've only got to say it near a phone, haven't you?
All right, we put that to the test after the podcast. We can all check our phones and see if we got solar panels coming up and battery banks and things. Probably would be. So you get cheap batteries, etc., etc. So you've got these torches, you've got tea lights and things. Question: you may have tea lights, but they can be quite dangerous. I mean, in the wrong hands. I've heard of people setting fire to their houses before where they've lit a tea light and put it on top of, well, you wouldn't do it so much on a flat screen TV these days, but with the old CRT TVs where they were much deeper,
Yes.
people would put candles on top of the telly.
Okay.
Obviously, the little aluminium cup that a tea light is in is it's not there to say, oh, this is perfectly safe to put on any surface. So they've actually melted them through the top of the telly.
Oh, no.
And,
Wow.
Yeah, serious fires have happened. Because people think, oh, candle, I'll just light it, but they've got no experience in
It's a
using
bit of
it.
negligence, isn't it?
Well, negligence or they're just lacking
Common sense.
common sense or experience. So you got tea lights. I dare say you must have.
Usually we've got quite high shelves and things up out the way. We're quite sensible.
Yeah, 'cause you've got kids,
placement.
you've got young
exactly.
children.
You must have high shelves with
You're
young,
pretty
young
lads.
kids. Yeah.
Pretty
Exactly.
lads.
Keep them out of the way.
Um,
I did think about that, and I was like, well, we need to go up and down the stairs and things. What would I do on the stairs? So I actually, in a first aid kit that I purchased 5 years ago for a trip to Finland, there was a 12-hour glow stick in there. That's straight in the box. That's hanging on the stairs. So there you go.
Yeah,
If
good.
you
Good.
don't need flames on the sticks.
No, using glow sticks, cheap battery torches.
If you get those posh desserts as well, they get little glass pots. You could
Yes,
keep hold of those to put tea lights in.
we were talking about that because
What are they
we've
called?
got some from cheesecakes.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's the
thing.
one. And because we're going to be doing a podcast on hot sauce.
Yeah, okay.
We needed some containers for hot sauce in. We're diversifying. Definitely having safe containers to put things in. To be fair, we have cats, and I don't know if you've got any animals, but
Yes, many.
Yeah. But you
Cats
say
are
that
stupid as well. They just walk over the fire. And
we have an abundance. We have an abundance of tin cans, so I always wash those out, and I always keep a store of tin cans because a tin can can easily be fashioned into a
cut in
lantern,
half, yeah.
a lantern, or even a little hobo stove.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can use it for cooking and things. So you've made that emergency blackout box, which only set you back 15 quid. And it's got everything there. So if your power goes out in the house, so we're going to have this scenario. So we're midwinter, power's gone out. Boom. First thing, you know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you know what you've got in that kit. Obviously, your wife does as well. So you've now got light. Is there anything else in there apart from
I've got
light?
a little solid fuel camping stove in there if it's that desperate. But we have a gas stove in the house
Right,
anyway.
because
So.
that's another thing. So maybe we should broaden that and let's put our minds together on that. If the power's gone out and you're living in a house or a flat, something like that, an apartment, and it's solely run from electricity, so you've got no gas cooker, you've got nothing, you've got no heating, you've got nothing. It really does pay to have a prep in that case, because again, go back to the video I kept mentioning about this chap, and it was a good video, so I'm not knocking the chap for the video, but I remember he had a lot of little mobile, solar-powered mobile chargers, but even so, they can slowly run out of charge. And his head torch, that was the reason I was bringing up the head torch. The head torch in his kit was a rechargeable head torch, and he actually in the video said, these are really good, you can't do without a head torch. Totally agree. And they're all USB rechargeable, which I don't like personally myself. When it comes to a head torch, I'd rather have a standard battery powered one.
Yeah, agreed. Because
once it's run out, if you have no further power, you can't recharge it. But if you have got a battery torch, you have that flexibility where you can raid the kids' toys. You can hopefully find a battery. But if you've got a big power outage, then I dare say like shops have gone out. Have you ever considered things like a generator or anything like that?
I did look afterwards. Once we'd had this discussion before, at sort of longer term power solutions and things, and one of the things that came up was a little. I think you have one as well. It's a little car jumper thing, but it also.
Yeah.
So that's slightly longer term, but for diesel generators and stuff, I haven't looked at them yet. I've sort of put this box together as a 1 to 2 day power out thing. And
So if you were stuck midwinter, you've obviously got gas cooker, so your gas is going to continue to run unless they have a gas shortage. But even in that, it's giving you some kind of heating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, have you got gas central heating or is it electric?
Yes, gas central heating as well. So.
But because
that requires there to be electricity to run.
Exactly. So you're really down to you have got your backup gas cooker.
Yeah.
So let's take that gas cooker away from you now. Okay, you've got an electric cooker.
Okay.
Boom, you've got no gas now. What would you do? As a prepper, what would you be thinking?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of options. I've got the little solid fuel camping thing that would cook a saucepan of something. I've got a gas-powered camping stove as well.
Right. And what sort of gas does that run off?
It's I think they're little butane ones. They're the
Oh,
ones
the
from go
six-
outdoors.
Yeah, the singular cylinders that go in.
Yeah, so I've got one of those with 8 cans of gas. But also you can cook off of tea lights and things, can't you? You know.
Do you have a
You could,
barbecue in the garden?
I've got a barbecue, yeah.
Right, so
So there's plenty of options, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose where that kind of prepping falls down, perhaps, is again if you go back to the scenario of somebody in a flat, where they can't they can't have a barbecue.
Yeah.
They might. So I do see some people with balconies have barbecues on the balcony.
If you have a balcony,
Or if you have the fuel in midwinter, have you thought about stocking up on some charcoal before?
I actually haven't, but I should do.
Yeah.
We've had fewer barbecues this year than I would have liked. So
Meat
yeah.
costs.
Yeah, meat costs, and just it's socialising costs.
Socialising, yeah. I think that's hit everybody really.
Yeah.
Going places
So-
to do things. Prepping. It doesn't have to be about the zombie apocalypse, but I want to bring up an area that kind of I find odd. Well, not odd, but maybe I prefer. When people talk about scenarios when it comes to prepping, they always tend to say, and excuse me, listeners, for saying this, they always say, what would you do in a shit hit the fan scenario? Every time it's like a SHIT hits the fan scenario, and can't we as a community think of something better to say than that?
better acronym or something.
Yeah, because that's not even a good acronym, because you can't say an SHT.
It's not shorter.
No. There are other things. I see what I mean. Because if you've got a bug out bag, that's a bob.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, have you got a bob?" Mm-hmm. You automatically you go, "Oh, you mean a bug out bag?" Or have you got an EDC?
Oh yeah,
Everyday carry.
Everyday carry.
yeah.
See, everyday carry, which is another simple bit of prepping.
More of an American term, isn't it? That one, I
Yeah,
think?
but it's an acronym you can easily say.
Yeah.
But SHIT hits the fan, isn't? So I want to come up with something else, you see. So, but I was looking for other alternatives, and I've not been successful.
Oh dear.
So I don't know if you've got any better ideas. But I was thinking, what else could you say instead of that? I've got all hell breaks loose scenario.
That's the PG version.
A chaos ensues situation.
Oh, I don't like that one. That's too complicated.
You'll love this one. A situation suddenly becoming serious and unpleasant.
That's the posh version.
This good old one. What if the balloon goes up?
That could be misinterpreted, couldn't it? Because some people would want the balloon to go up.
Yeah. They'll all be like,
Is it helium? It should go up. What are you doing?
what about the excrement hit the air conditioning? Okay.
Any more?
Yeah, I've got a couple more.
Pie in the face scenario.
When the toast hits the floor, jam side down scenario.
Oh no, don't want that.
What you want to do is put a cat on the back of it because they always land on their feet.
Yeah, but that's how you design the perpetual energy.
Yes.
That's it. You just fix it onto
It
a
should
generator.
never touch the ground.
And that cat's never going to touch the ground. You got loads
That's how we
of
create some kind of
Okay.
interdimensional portal.
Excellent prepping advice for you all. Strap
That's it.
toast
Strap
with jam.
onto the back of your cat. That's it. And drop it out of the window. Make sure it's got a generator. connected to
Infinite
it.
energy right there.
Infinite energy. Well, for all we know, that's exactly what they've got in all them power stations, you see. They're just having us on. It's
Maybe
just full
that's
of
what
cats.
maybe that's what that
Cats
guy
and jam.
had.
That's why there's a jam shortage.
This is a very specific conspiracy theory.
Really.
Take a bit of a turn.
I've still got a couple more, guys. I've still got a couple more. Okay. Well, this is a simple one. When all hell breaks out scenario.
That was your first one.
Oh, no. Yes. No, when all hell breaks loose.
Okay.
Ah,
Fair enough.
breaks out. And of course, the one that everybody knows, everything has gone south scenario.
I feel like that's probably the one, isn't it?
Everything has gone south scenario.
I think it's quite long to say.
Yeah. I feel like we should. Every time I'm looking at preppers things,
If
Right,
anyone has any suggestions, please comment below or get in contact with
that
the Now We Know Show.
we don't have to keep saying shit hit the fan all the time. But anyway, back to reality. Yeah, simple prepping. So, what is a prepper? What got you into prepping? That's what I want to ask you, Jack.
A general mistrust of the government to do their job properly.
Well, I've got this creeping feeling that right at this moment, at the time of recording of this episode, I think probably most of the country will agree with you.
So that was the thing.
Very topical.
It was,
Very topical.
It was a bit, it wasn't necessarily their fault, but it was just, when COVID happened, there was quite a delay on people being prepared for the situation. You'd have thought that they would have experts in this field to say, this is going to happen at some point, and when it does, they have, what's it called when...
A think tank? Or...
Yeah, well, when they put models together for
yes.
what would happen.
Right, okay. Yeah,
And how people would react. You'd think there'd be enough social experts to say, when something like this happens, people are going to run to the shops and they are going to buy everything.
Yeah.
So it took them quite a while to put the limits on food buying.
Well, I remember going to the shops myself and
Loo roll.
suddenly,
Loo roll, exactly,
suddenly
yeah,
you went to buy something, you went, oh no, you can only have 2 of those.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, that was great when they did that, but I feel like they should have implemented that sooner so that there wasn't the problem in the first place.
The similar thing occurred when everybody went nutty about the fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that was crazy.
Suddenly there was this fuel scare, and then everybody
no
went
idea
out.
where that came from, because I'm pretty sure there wasn't a problem.
I think didn't it emanate from a couple of fuel stations down in Devon running out of fuel?
Possibly.
It was because everyone decided to then panic buy fuel that's when the problems
Exactly.
occurred.
So they said the thing, and then the thing happens, which just seems to be how the media works, to be honest.
Yeah. But doesn't that have a reflection on the psyche of just everyday people? It's really awkward because everybody was running out to get fuel, and then at the time we had a lot of film jobs on where we were having to travel quite a distance to get to the film jobs.
Yeah.
That's work. And
Again, for House of the Dragon.
we needed to go and do that work, and we needed fuel. So you're suddenly seeing everybody rushing out and buying fuel that probably didn't need to buy fuel, and then you're going, well, I've got to rush out and buy fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a
Because
2.5 hour journey ahead of me.
Exactly.
I've got to go out there and get it, and now I'm having to queue up for 2 hours to get some fuel.
I didn't think it would last as long as it did when that did happen, and I was quite fortunate. I did fill the car up like the day before that it happened, and I was like, oh, that was lucky. Well, it'll only last a week.
But
and then it lasted about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And my car was running out of fuel, and I was like, well, I must go and find some now because I've got 40 miles left in the tank, and it's going to cost me 40 miles of searching to find some. Which is ridiculous.
We only just managed to get through that.
And then when you find it, you could only have 30 quid.
Well,
I
yes,
was actually
yes,
able to
but,
bring my tank.
but that's
I
what they
wasn't
should
limited.
have done right from the start.
Yeah.
Like you were saying
rather
earlier.
Than saying, there's a fuel
Fill your
shortage. They
tank.
said, there's a fuel shortage, and you're only allowed to buy 30 quid.
Yeah, 30 quid, that's
They
your
don't,
limit.
do they?
Because people were getting jerry cans out the
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah,
and-
that
We
was
had to do
actually
that for work
happening.
as well. So
Yeah.
because they were stopping people from filling jerry cans, so my boss had a hard time because we have a lot of cars in the yard at work. We have to have jerry cans of fuel, and so he had to go and get some, and it took him a bloody long time to find some.
Well, at the time, I was doing some clearing for a friend of mine on his land and using chainsaws and power tools, all petrol driven. And again, it was like I felt really, really self-conscious because I couldn't carry on with the work because I needed to go and see if I could get fuel and fill
And
up.
then you'd have to fill up a jerry can in front of everybody.
And they're all going, "You evil person, evil
You'd have been
man."
better off putting it in your tank and getting it back out again.
Siphoning it back in. Yeah. Oh dear, yeah. But that is a reflection on the human condition, I think, as well.
Nobody doesn't want to have anything.
Yeah. So
Is it what do they call it? Fear of missing out. FOMO.
FOMO.
they've got an acronym, haven't they? That's
FOMO.
FOMO.
There you go.
That's a good acronym. Why can't we have it for a shit at the fan situation? But it is simple things, and I think that it is simple, small things like blackouts and the inability to suddenly go and get food and fuel, and it can be. It just shows that life is literally balanced on a knife edge.
And it amazes me that people they'll be prepared in some aspects of their life as well, because they'll drive around with a spare tire in the car, or they'll drive around, not drive around, but they'll have. I had another example.
Come on, you can do
I
it.
can't remember what it was.
Well,
But yeah, so
come to you,
people are prepared in other aspects of life. They'll go out and think, oh, it might rain. I'll take a coat.
but still there'll be those ones that say, no,
I don't need to
But
do
then
that.
it does, and then you need one and you haven't got it.
So then they get wet.
Or they'll have those people that have a spare tyre, and I've met somebody like this myself when I was going down a dark lane, autumn time.
Their spare tyre is their last time they've got a puncture.
Well, I passed this lady and she was like waving at me, and I thought I better stop, so I pulled over, and she got a flat tyre, and I said, "You got a spare?" "Yes." And what she wanted was she borrowed my mobile phone to ring her husband
To come and do it for
come
her.
and do it for her.
Oh, I see.
and so you think, I think that frankly, it should be part of the driving test that people should be able to change the tyre. But anyway, but she really said, "Oh no, I need to ring my husband to come." I said, "No, that's not a problem. I can do it for you. But if I do it for you, can you watch me do it so you know how to do it if you get yourself in this situation, because you're in the middle of nowhere, and I could have been anybody. It's a very simple job." What I didn't know, she had a 12-year-old son sitting in the back seat. She made little Johnny get out, and she said, "Watch what the man does." I made it.
Oh my God.
She made him watch what I was doing.
Yes. 12-year-old boy, can you undo this wheel nut tightened to 150 Newton meters?
She did not want to know.
Goodness
She didn't want to know, and so
yeah,
it just throws up.
So I suppose in that situation, she had the spare tyre in her car because someone else put it there. So it comes with it.
It comes with the car. It comes with the car. What it's for, I have no idea. It's strange, but just in everyday life,
So maybe something to take from that is being a prepper is also just knowledge.
Knowledge, yes,
I
think
also
it's a good
one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think
just
that
knowing how to do something, whether
how-
you do it or not, or whether you've done it before, knowing how to do it, knowing how to start a fire with a piece of chewing gum foil and a battery.
that's right. One of the fundamental things that I asked you today, didn't I, Zach? I said, what would be a fundamental skill as a prepper would you think that everybody should know how to do?
Lighting a fire.
Lighting a fire, which could be done in many different ways, but having the ability to do that. And I suppose in today's society, so many people, going back to what I said right at the beginning, so many people just live almost on this 24/7 clock
On a
where
day-to-day basis.
they don't have to think about anything, and of course that does leave you open to.
We are quite spoilt as a society, aren't we?
To issues.
Everything's
It's there, but
for you.
But the way I look at prepping, even in the smallest way, like having a blackout box, so it's there if the power goes out. Even if the power's only out for an hour or 2 hours, that you've got light. It's insurance, isn't it? That's probably the better way.
That's a good way of putting it.
Prepping is just insurance, and people will pay for insurance for their house, their contents, their
Driving insurance?
holiday insurance.
Kind of forced to do that, though, aren't they? That's not their choice,
Oh,
You have
okay.
to have
Well,
it.
but I mean,
They do it because
I was
they're
just
told.
listing off things that were included in insurance, okay?
Ultimately, you could argue that why do I need insurance at all? But we have to have insurance because of the shit
Anyway.
hits the fan. Things happen.
Yeah.
Um,
In case
so
the car hits the lorry scenario.
prepping is, even in the smallest way, it is probably a combination of expanding your knowledge, having that knowledge base that you can draw upon. Thinking about the smallest of things and making sure you can cope and deal with those. And that gives you insurance, if you like, that you, if all the power goes out and you're suddenly go, oh, well, that's okay. Don't worry, kids. I can still put a hot meal on the table. You don't have. We can still play games. We haven't got TVs.
We are fine. Everyone else is suffering.
Everyone else is suffering. Until they start knocking on your door.
You've got a light on.
Keep the lights off. Keep the lights off.
Shut the curtains.
I have blackout curtains all year round.
So have you thought about expanding your preps?
Yeah, actually. So I'm looking at solar panels and stuff like that, just prepping for rising fuel costs. I'm a bit late to the party, but better late than never. So other things was the power thing I said about earlier. Just having a bit of extra. I can run something larger if I need to. Yeah. So we've got food and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's just the entertainment. We're not particularly well prepped for entertainment in a blackout situation because we rely on the TV a lot. So we're going to get
social media,
exactly.
phones.
Everything is just so if the kids want to play a game or whatever, that's something we actually don't have. So we're going to start getting board games and things.
What do you mean the PS5 doesn't work?
Yeah, I know. They're like
Dad!
I don't know how to
Dad,
function.
the power's gone out. What do we
What's
do?
the
Can we watch the
Wi-Fi?
telly?
Where's my Wi-Fi gone? Exactly.
So
Help.
thankfully they're not too attached to video games and
Thank
stuff.
goodness.
So do you think you'll see yourself kind of taking things further and start? I mean, I don't know. Do you grow your own produce at all?
As more of a hobby, something to do with the kids,
But with the current climate the way it is,
don't
have you
particularly have the room
considered
for it.
about maybe doing more of that?
we used to have an allotment, but it became it was time consuming that we didn't have. So having stores of food that we can purchase, just every time you go to the shop, just buy a bit extra. It doesn't have to be a £100 dedicated prepping shop.
Oh no.
Well,
I think that's the
you
thing.
just go, I'm going to pick up,
An extra
5
tin of
tins.
beans.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to pick up 5 tins of beans for this week and 1 extra for the box.
I think that's what it puts people off because kind of like they suddenly find themselves in a scenario where they might need. I need extra food.
Help! I need to spend that
I
much money.
haven't got the money to spend on it. Yet, if you trickled it through,
you need to make it a hobby and a bit of a mindset.
Yeah.
To
do
it, because you could just jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, cool, I'm going to go and buy all the stuff and get it all done. It ain't great if you could afford to do that
At the same point that everyone else is
doing
doing it at the same time.
Yeah, that as well. So I mean, you could jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, I'm going to be a prepper, but I'm going to buy it all in one go. Or you could be too late and I need to buy food and everybody's buying food.
Yeah. So what are your?
I want your food. I'm going to go rob you.
So doing it on a budget is literally buying that very, very cheap value beans and just adding 1 tin wherever you can, just adding a bit more.
What's
and
29p on a shop?
and trying to prevent yourself from eating into that as you build something. Personally, I think that it's a good. I feel that it would be good, and I can't really see why most households thinking about it could do this, because it would just be a change of mindset. But I think that if every household had up to 1 month's worth of food for the amount of people in their house, if you're a single person, that doesn't have to be a huge amount. But I mean, obviously, you're a family of six, so you've got quite a few mouths to feed. But if you could get yourself to a point where you've got 1 month's worth of food,
that's the aim, really.
Then you can eat into that, because obviously stock rotation and replace, but you've always got that buffer. I think that is personally key. Is key, is to get that buffer in place before you need it. But then there's a lot of people who go, I don't need
that's silly.
That's the point, isn't it?
Is that going to happen?
That's the whole point of the podcast, is people going, I don't need that, and I was going, you should probably prep for that.
Yeah, I think you should prep for that, because otherwise you'll be knocking at my door.
Say that when the power cuts out.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is only our initial sort of dabble into prepping, and as I say, it's many layers. There's lots of things, where you've got, as I say, just going through preservation of food, preserving food, the different stock rotations, best before dates, use by dates, things like that, foraging. When it comes to all sorts of the medical side of things, first aid. Yeah, part of prepping would be that somebody's gone on a first aid course, so they kind of understand these basic first aid.
Again, it's knowledge, isn't it?
It's not. It comes under your knowledge base that you said about Jack. So yeah, we can.
There's one thing I need to add to that list, which is quite a difficult one for even experienced preppers, I imagine, is water. Which is something I looked into.
Way?
Like, if you haven't got running water suddenly, I looked into it and I was like, you can use. I think I worked it out to be my family would use, if suddenly there was a month's worth of no water, we use 1,000 litres of water a month.
Well,
who
minimal...
can store, like, you can store a month's worth of food.
Yep.
What about water?
Well,
like,
I would say a minimum is what, 2 litres a day for an adult
to live properly.
2 litres
you
a
can
day.
survive on half a litre. They're saying to keep your kidneys going.
so again, that would be definitely a very good subject to look into in more detail in a further podcast, because that brings into could be the area that you live in the country. We're in the UK, obviously, and normally we're a very wet country. We got a lot of water around, especially up in Scotland and Wales. And of course there are things you can do with water. But of course, maybe we should put our minds together and think about what if we were the person stuck in an apartment block in the middle of a city. What are you going to do in that situation?
Bit of a film reference here, but do you remember 28 Days Later?
They
They were trying to collect water on buckets on the roof.
Oh yes, on that was on a tower block, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But again, it didn't rain, so no water.
Oh yeah, that's right. They
had to leave.
They had
I
to leave.
believe rainwater isn't actually ideal. Well, I suppose if they were collecting it in the buckets, it is. But collecting rainwater off your roof, not such a good idea. If you're, sticking it at the bottom of your drain pipe or whatever, not a good idea.
Well, I don't know. We can go off track in the podcast. This is the whole thing. It's very fluid, and we.
Pardon the pun.
yeah, good one. But I had one of my best friends spent. I think she lived in Bermuda for about 5 years, and we did go and visit her in Bermuda. And Bermuda, being such a small island, water is, a resource that is scarce. It's such a small island with all the population there, plus they have all the cruise liners coming in and everything else. So it's at a premium. So what they do is in Bermuda, all the houses, all the roofs are white limed. And every house has its own water tank. So if it rains, that's your water. Every house has its own water tank, comes directly off the roof. You're not allowed, because they try and keep down the mosquitoes and insects. You get fined if you leave old tyres around that can collect water, and then the mosquitoes can breathe. So they don't want any lying water around anywhere. Wow. If they've got water, they want it in your water tanks. And then each house has a water filter. So literally, the water, it rains, into your tank, through your water filter, you drink it, cook with it, everything else.
That'd be really good.
If you run out of water, then you can pay for the government to send a water truck round to fill up your tank. You see? Okay. But otherwise, you don't pay for water.
Excellent. Sort of.
Because
assuming it rains.
Depends how much you use and if it rains.
How much you use. But that's where I sometimes look at that and I think, well, here we are in the UK, and although we've just had the hottest summer going, we usually get a lot of rain, and we can't just let it go.
It's quite amazing. We've been working quite hard since the start of COVID. We sort of got into gardening, and have got
the water butt's gone in.
Well, exactly. So we had one water butt. It's quite large. I'm not sure how many litres it is. And then I got another one that my dad gave me, and I fitted that. It would have been just around the time when it was just starting to get hot. It rained, and I was like, "Oh, it's been raining for about an hour. Just going to check on the water butt and see how much it actually got." It was full.
Really? In 1 hour?
Yes, it was amazing how much water lands on your roof. The size of your roof is underestimated.
It's a big catchment area.
Exactly. So, and I was amazed. It was up past the top, like where it comes in. It was past that. It was past that where it comes in, and it was up to the top, flooding out the little hole in the top. And I was like, wow, I can't I need another one.
So there you go. So you need to get up there, lime your roof, get yourself a water storage tank.
I'll just have the backside for me for the garden, and the front I'll just put one for us.
Household water.
So if we need water, I think we know where to go.
Jack's house.
Like finding it. Wixham's is like a rabbit warren.
Oh, dear. So, but that's a great. So we're going to explore the whole areas of prepping in this series.
That was another act of prepping, wasn't it? I need water because there's a drought because my garden needs it.
But exactly, that's why I know it's dark at the moment when you arrived, and I've got my block paving outside, and I'm not. Usually once a year I go out there and I clean the block paving and re-sand it, and I must admit it gets dirty, so I tend to once a year I use, and obviously we pay for the water, but I use my jet wash to do that. But I didn't do it this year because we've had such a thing, and although officially in this area we weren't on drought, I just thought, well, no, I'm not going to be the one who goes out there and jet washes his path. So I've got it's a constant battle at the moment. We're weeding these weeds out of the cracks in my block paving. But the reason I mentioned that is then I went round to my mother's house, and the guy next door has got his jet wash out and he's washing his cars quite merrily, and that's it, because people have these kind of different attitudes. I don't care, it's just water, don't care if the reservoirs are drying up, I'm just going to use what I want.
There was a fantastic sketch about that I saw once. A guy, I wish I could remember where it was so I could say who it was, but it was a guy cryogenically frozen.
Oh yes.
And he wakes up in the future, something like 200 years in the future, and he gets talking to the guy who's woken him up, because you've woken up in the year 2200 or whatever it is, and he goes, oh yeah, blimey, can I have a drink? And he goes, no, there's not been any water for 70 years. I'm like, oh really? Yeah. What happened to it? And I said, well, just everybody used it. We've ran out of water. They did warn you, surely. And I was like, well, they did. Well, did you do anything about it? No, we used to go outside and have water fights. Yeah. What? Yeah, we used to get a cup of water and we just rinse it out first, tip that down the drain, and then fill it up with water. The guy's looking at him in absolute shock and horror. It's like, you did what?
You wasted the resources.
I can't remember the end of the sketch. It was very funny. And he says, surely your government did something about it. And they went, to help save the planet. They went, yeah, they put a 5p charge on plastic bags.
Oh, well, that's it. Prepping. I mean, you talk about plastic bags. We went shopping the other day, and we always buy a roll of bin bags. So as soon as we get to the till, we open the roll of bin bags, put all the shopping in the bin bag, take it home. You see? And on occasion, I have been known to get to the car and take all the plastic that I don't want, that's wrapped up all around the stuff that we had to buy, and leave it in the trolley. Give it back. If everybody did that, the supermarket are saying we really do need to stop, because it's costing us all this money to get rid of all this plastic.
Idea. I
so
just don't
taking
use
it home with
bags. I've got a lady come up to me.
I'm terrible. I always forget the bag for life.
Yeah,
get to the shop and go. Oh,
we've got them at home and we use them to carry the washing around the house.
Yep.
So I forget to take them to the shop with me when I need them. So I'll have this trolley full of goods and stuff, and I'll get to the car and I don't put it in a plastic bag when I go around, and I don't put it in a plastic bag when I get to the till. And I had a lady come up to me in the car park. I was about 3 minutes into what is usually a 7 or 8 minute job of loading the car up of just individual cans and stuff. She goes, I love you for doing that. And I was like, do you? Because you've got a bag full of plastic, shopping trolley full of plastic bags, so why aren't you doing it? If you love me for doing it and you feel that strongly, why are you not doing it? Just loading up my car.
It's
a bit longer, but
No, I've done that many a time. Just chuck it in the back of the car and then unload it when you get home.
Exactly.
There you go.
It takes a bit longer, but it saves a plastic.
So there you go.
We're
money saving tips. Now they're 30p a bag.
We're getting environmentally friendly now, aren't we, guys? It's like when I go to we're going off track.
Shopping tips with the Now We Know Show podcast.
Hey!
I always park the far side of the car park because there's always parking. There's always people who always fight to get near the front door, and you go, what?
Quite lucky, I've got the kids, I always get the kids' spaces.
My kid's grown up too much. Can't get away with it.
I always thought when I was younger, I was like, surely, kids' spaces, that's so that they've got room to put the kids in. That it's not. It's so that the kids, when they slam the doors open, they don't hit other people's cars.
That's what it's all about. Oh, brilliant. So what have we learned on this podcast so far? Preppers are not mad creatures that dwell
they could
in bunkers.
be. They could be.
They could be. But they don't need to be. So don't be afraid if somebody says they're a prepper. 2, I think that hopefully we've instilled people to think that perhaps having a mind to do some small amount of prepping would save them from being caught out.
The trick is to turn it into a lifestyle as well, not just
A lifestyle.
Don't just think, oh, I've listened to a podcast, I'll go and buy an extra tin of beans. That's not enough.
It's my prepping beans.
My fighting trousers.
Yeah. Bring me my fighting trousers. That's it.
It's great because you could use the tin of beans as a weapon as well.
Multi-purpose. And then if you can recover it afterwards, you can empty it, eat the beans, and turn it into a hobo stove.
Or a lantern. Yeah, that's it. Or if you have 2 cans, you can put a piece of string between them and use them as a rudimentary communications device. Oh, we're just full of great
ideas.
Great ideas. One thing talking about canned food, though, you see, now you would have seen probably from posts that I put up. When it comes to rotation, and we will talk about best befores and use buys and things, but you're always seeing me opening cans of food.
I've enjoyed your recent posts about
4 years old, you know.
Like, well, he's going to feel rough in the morning. I feel fine.
I feel fine. I experiment on myself, you can say. Because it's part of this prepper's experimentation. I get food and I think, oh, hang on a minute, I forgot all about that.
Taking one for the team.
I'll tell you what, for this food, I found a box of food that Tina, my wife, had stored away, and I didn't even know it was there. And that's where recently I've been getting all these cans that are like 3 years out of date. And now I've been chomping my way through them just to prove to myself that actually that's fine. And it does make you concerned that how much people throw away, because these cans are literally 3 years old. Obviously, you've got to store cans, you know, cool, dry place, don't dent them.
Yeah. If everybody else out there is like my house, they've got a cupboard full of junk that they can empty.
so yeah, when we cover the best befores and everything, you know, that's one of those things that you shouldn't just be dumping food either, just because it's got
best before, not too bad after.
Yeah, that's a good way.
There you go.
And if they're Twinkies,
maybe they should put like 3 dates on it. Best before. Yeah, you're probably all right. Nah, I wouldn't risk it.
I've got 2 tins of curry which sound rather ominous when you tip them up.
Oh.
They're meant to be like chicken curry in a sauce. Now you can imagine if you turn that upside down,
chicken curry in a jelly.
You kind of think that if you turned it, you wouldn't necessarily hear anything. But these curries are like you get this thunk and a very watery sound with it as well. You think that one I'm not sure about. I think I'll have to open
that one. Can go in the weaponry cans box.
That goes into the trebuchet.
Catapult!
Fire! Chicken curry! Quick!
The mobs and the crowds outside your house.
You've come for food.
Yeah.
I have some chicken curry you might like.
Oh, I thought you were going to fire at them.
Please.
That too. Make a game of it.
Stay back.
Make a game of it. Thunk.
Headshot.
That great 40mm grenade sound.
Thunk. It's part of your prepping, you see. You've got to see, how am I going to launch these cans that I don't use anymore?
That's just part of being a 14-year-old boy. This is how can I put this in to fire it somewhere really far.
Oh man, this is good fun. So we are going to be continuing this series, but when we rounding up this particular one, where we've covered such a lot on different angles on prepping, we always come to a section when we have a guest in called our 6 quickfire questions.
Righto.
Are you prepared for undergoing the quickfire question section?
Go for it.
Because you don't know what these questions are. I've jumped this on you.
Okay.
So you've got to answer. If you want to skip, you can say pass.
Okay.
Okay, but we're just... See, hopefully these are prepping-related questions.
Okay.
Ready for this, Jack?
Go for it.
Okay, so it's our 6 quickfire questions. Question number 1. Would you bug out or bug in?
With the family size I have, I think bug in's probably the best bet.
A subject we'll need to cover in a future episode.
If you don't know what bugging
If you don't know what bugging in and bugging out is. Question 2. Would you look to form a group or go it alone?
Tough question. Groups are better. I have a group of friends in mind, but yeah. Maybe
Are they
not.
reliable?
Are they reliable? He's looking to... Oh, your friends are listening to this going, oh, yeah.
Yes,
is he talking about me, yeah?
I don't know. They're quite reliable.
Okay, so group then, yeah?
Mm.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Specific group.
Are they corn-fed or not? Just in case the food runs out. Question 3. Okay. What's your go-to food of choice to have in your prepping stores?
Oh, goodness. Pot noodles.
Pot noodles. Okay, that leads me to a second question.
Yep.
What flavour? Say it.
Barbecue pulled pork.
Oh, right. I think we've only tried that once.
Yeah, I haven't tried that.
We always go for the
Bombay Bad Boy.
I've avoided that one.
Oh, it's really nice.
It is nice. The king pot noodle.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta go king. Anyway, question 4. Right, if the end of the world is nigh and you had a choice, what would be your preferred apocalypse?
My preferred apocalypse.
Yeah.
What? Oh,
So you've got the
I thought you were going to say what weapons would you
Yeah,
choose?
no.
How would you like to die?
This is your choice now.
Oh,
you're
goodness me.
choosing for the whole human race. What would the end of humanity is at stake, and you get to choose what apocalypse you would
Goodness
wish to
me.
face.
It's all on you, Jack.
It's all on you.
Pass.
We can't pass the apocalypse.
You can't pass it.
Okay.
You got to run up, knee death in the groin, and run away again.
What's never happened before?
Okay, let's choose the most likely one. Flooding.
Flooding. Have you got a canoe?
No, but I can swim.
Maybe one for the preps.
One for the preps. Yeah. Got a roof. 2-story building.
Onto the room. Okay, question 5. What's your top prepping tip for people new to prepping?
Try and make it a hobby. You know, don't if you do it once and give up, that defies the point. You need to make it a constant thing, where make it a mindset, so that when you go out, you think, oh, I'll just get one extra.
So as you said, lifestyle.
Yeah, make it a lifestyle.
Make it a
basically.
lifestyle.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay, question 6. What's your favourite post-apocalyptic film?
Oh goodness me.
He's thinking.
I'm thinking.
The eyes are rolling.
I'm thinking.
Come on, post-apocalyptic movie. Everybody watches post-apocalyptic movies.
Especially us.
Yes, everybody.
Terminator.
Terminator.
There you
This is the original Terminator. Terminator number 1?
Terminator 2. Judgment
Terminator 2.
Day.
There we
Judgment
go.
Day.
Yeah.
Which version?
Ah, yes.
Oh,
This is
goodness
direct-
me.
Is this the theatrical, the special edition, or the ultimate cut?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know what one I've seen.
You're talking to the wrong film there,
films with the wrong people.
Right, Terminator
I
2.
changed my mind. Bug out. Bug out.
Bug out. Right, so as Jack disappears into the distance, we're going to bring this around this particular podcast off. It's been fantastic having you in the studio, Jack. Hopefully some people have taken note of your wonderful suggestion on the blackout box for 15 quid or less.
I think we certainly have.
We certainly have. And thank you so much for coming in and spending your time with us.
No worries. It's been
Would
great.
you come in again?
Certainly.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. We love having special guests back.
Excellent.
Superb. So,
I should have been ready today.
you should have been ready. It's okay, don't have
I
to
wasn't
whisper.
prepared.
Damn.
A whole show about prepping. And he wasn't prepared.
He wasn't prepared.
I'm the comic relief, okay?
There is a kind of a sweet kind of justice there.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.
I need to think of a prepping goodbye, don't I?
Honestly, you're not prepared.
Oh, I know. So that's a Lord Humongous goodbye from Buzz.
That's a baked bean goodbye from Zak.
And I'm going to bug out.
From Jack.
I'm out.
Hello.
Bye.
He's gone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
In the floor, jam side down.
Oh, dear. You got to edit this.